You ever wonder how a company like Apple just knows how many iPhones to make? Or how Amazon gets that package to your door like ridiculously fast? Well, they're not just winging it. Nope. They're using a super powerful tool to basically predict the future. And we're about to pull back the curtain on how they do it.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Can anyone really know what's coming tomorrow or next month or 5 years from now? For most of us, it's just a big mystery. But you know what? In the world of business, trying to solve that mystery is absolutely essential. And this is their version of a crystal ball. It's called forecasting. At its core, it's all about looking at what's happened in the past and what's happening right now to make an educated guess about the future. And trust me, it is the engine that drives pretty much every single major business decision.
Just think about it for a second. The questions are huge. How much stuff should we actually produce? How much should we keep in the warehouse? How many people do we need to hire? Or, on the flip side, lay off? Where in the world should we build our next giant factory? All of these massive company-defining decisions, they all rest on the foundation of a good forecast.
Okay, so any good crystal ball lets you kind of adjust the focus, right? You can zoom in to see what's right around the corner, or you can pan out to see way, way down the road. Well, business forecasting is exactly the same. It all works across different time horizons. So let's play with that focus a bit. If we zoom all the way into the short range, we're talking up to about a year, that's all about the day-to-day stuff. Scheduling jobs, managing how many workers you need on the floor. Now zoom out a bit to the medium range, say 3 months to 3 years. That's where you're planning out your sales goals and setting your budgets. But for the really big picture stuff, like planning a brand new product line or deciding where to build a whole new campus, you need that long-range view of 3 years or even more. And this isn't just some abstract theory either. Think about the life of a single product. When it's brand new and hopefully growing like crazy, you're relying on those long-range forecasts to guide your whole strategy. But once that product is mature and things are more stable, you shift your focus to shorter-range predictions just to manage the day-to-day operations. So the big question is, how do forecasters actually do it? Well, it turns out there are two main schools of thought. It's this fantastic split between what you could call the art of it all and the cold, hard science of it all. So on one side, you've got the qualitative approach. This is the art. It's all about intuition, gut feelings, and years of experience. This is what you use in those fuzzy, vague situations where you just don't have a lot of data, like launching some crazy new technology. But on the other side, you have the quantitative approach. That's the science. This is for when things are stable and you're sitting on a mountain of historical data. You just fire up the mathematical models and let them crunch the numbers. It's perfect for something like predicting sales of a product that's been around for years. And this visualizes the two worlds perfectly. Are you gazing into that crystal ball, relying on your instincts and what you've seen before? Or are you hunched over the charts and graphs, letting the raw data tell you the story? The truth is, both have a really important place. All right, let's peek behind the curtain of the science side of forecasting for a minute. When analysts have years and years of data, how do they actually turn all those numbers into a prediction? Well, the most common method is all about looking for patterns. This is the heart of something called time series analysis. The basic idea is pretty simple. The stuff that influenced things in the past is probably going to keep influencing them in the future. So these analysts are like detectives, reading the tea leaves of old data by breaking it down into 4 key pieces to see what's really driving the numbers. First up, you've got the trend. This is the big, long-term direction of the data over several years. Is it generally sloping upwards or heading down? We're not talking about little bumps here. We're talking about the fundamental direction, and it's usually driven by huge forces like population growth or massive shifts in technology. Next, they look for seasonality. Now, these are super predictable patterns that happen over and over again within a single year. Think about ice cream sales going through the roof every summer, or toy sales exploding right before the holidays. It's that reliable, yearly rhythm you can pretty much set your watch to. Then things get a little trickier with the cyclical components. These are also up and down waves in the data, but they aren't tied to the calendar. They play out over multiple years, and they're usually linked to much bigger things, like the overall economic cycle of boom and bust. Way harder to predict than seasonality, but absolutely crucial for the long-term picture. And finally, you have the random component. This is basically just the static, the unpredictable noise. These are those one-off, unforeseen events that cause a little blip in the data but don't really follow any pattern. A sudden political crisis, a freak weather event, that's a random variation. And honestly, A huge goal of this whole analysis is to separate this noise from the real, predictable patterns.
Okay, so we've got time horizons, we've got art, we've got science, trends, seasons, but let's get back to the main point. What is the ultimate goal of all of this? Why do companies pour so much time and money into forecasting?
Because here's the honest-to-goodness truth about all of it. Forecasts are seldom perfect. That crystal ball, it's always going to be a little bit cloudy. There is no mathematical model, no genius expert in the world who can predict the future with 100% accuracy. It's just not possible. And that brings us right to the single most important takeaway. The goal is not to be perfectly right. The goal is to be less wrong. It's all about reducing that feeling of uncertainty so you can make smarter, more strategic, better informed decisions about your products, your inventory, your people, and your future. It's about giving yourself an edge.
So let's bring this all back home to you. The next time you've got a really big decision to make in your own life, maybe a career change or a huge purchase, just stop and think for a second. How are you going to forecast the outcome? Are you going to rely on your gut, on your intuition, the art? Or are you going to gather all the data you can, look for the patterns, and use the science?